Attention Washington fans! This week has been a whirlwind of news shaking our team's foundations. I've got exclusive information that's going to completely change your perspective on what's coming for the Commanders. A devastating injury nobody saw coming is forcing dramatic roster changes, while our star receiver faces the most intense pressure of their career after signing that mega deal. And as if that wasn't enough, the organization is exploring desperate moves to salvage a season that might be hanging by a thread. If you're a true Washington fan, you can't miss a single word of what I'm about to reveal. Hit like right now and stay to the end because this news will define our season's destiny. Let's start with the loss of Deatrick Wise Jr., creating a significant hole in Washington's defensive line rotation. And Adam Peters is meticulously evaluating every available option to fill that void. This situation is more complex than simply finding a replacement. It's about maintaining the defensive philosophy that Dan Quinn has established while simultaneously managing salary cap constraints and future draft capital. Wise wasn't just another pass rusher. During his brief time with the Commanders before the injury, he demonstrated exactly why the organization targeted him during free agency. In the game against the Giants, Wise logged 28 pass rush snaps and generated 4 total pressures, 2 QB hits and 2 QB hurries for a pressure rate of 14.3%. Those numbers indicate a player who was already integrated into Quinn's defensive scheme and producing at a high level. His versatility was perhaps his most valuable asset. At 6 feet 5 inches and 275 pounds, Wise could play multiple positions along the defensive line. In certain packages, he'd align as a 5-technique defensive end. In pass rushing situations, he'd slide inside as an interior rusher. In run defense, he could set the edge or collapse the pocket from various alignments. Losing that versatility forces significant adjustments to Quinn's defensive game planning. Instead of having one player who could handle multiple roles, now the coaching staff must use multiple players to replicate what Wise brought to each package. Now let's examine each potential replacement option in detail. Jalen Holmes, the internal option Holmes, represents the most intriguing internal option because he's already familiar with Quinn's system and has demonstrated the ability to contribute meaningfully when given opportunities. His statistics from 2024 tell only part of the story. 2 sacks, 18 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hits between his time with the New York Jets and Washington. What makes Holmes particularly valuable is his experience playing multiple positions. During his 11 games with Washington last season, he aligned at various spots along the defensive line. PFF data shows that 91% of his defensive snaps came at edge positions, but he also logged meaningful snaps as an interior rusher in passing situations. His background suggests resilience and adaptability. After being drafted by Minnesota in 2018, Holmes has played for 5 different organizations, learning multiple defensive systems and contributing wherever needed. That adaptability could be crucial as Washington tries to maintain defensive continuity during this adjustment period. During training camp, Holmes consistently impressed coaches with his preparation and understanding of situational football. He's not going to provide elite pass rush numbers, but he understands his role and executes assignments reliably. In Quinn's defensive philosophy, that consistency is often more valuable than spectacular individual performances. The challenge with promoting Holmes is depth. If he becomes a full-time starter, Washington loses valuable rotational depth that helps keep players fresh during long games and across the entire season. Carl Lawson, the free agent acquisition Lawson, represents potentially the highest upside option available in the free agent market. During his career peak with Cincinnati in 2021, Lawson recorded 8.5 sacks despite missing significant time due to injury. When healthy, he's demonstrated the ability to generate consistent pressure against elite offensive lines. His contract situation makes him particularly attractive from a financial perspective. After his original deal with the New York Jets was restructured, Lawson doesn't require significant guaranteed money beyond week 1. That gives Washington flexibility to evaluate his current physical condition and performance level without major long-term financial commitment. But there are legitimate concerns about Lawson's current form. His 2023 season with the Jets was disappointing, limited by injuries and inconsistent performance. At 29 years old, coming off a significant injury history, there's a question about whether he can return to his 2021 production level. Lawson's pass rush style would fit well within Quinn's defensive concepts. He relies primarily on speed to power conversion and hand technique rather than pure athletic ability. That style tends to age better than rushers who depend solely on explosive first steps. The adjustment period could be manageable because Lawson has experience in multiple defensive systems throughout his career. His time with Cincinnati, New York, and briefly with other organizations has exposed him to various terminology and concepts that could translate to Quinn's approach. However, signing Lawson would require patience. He needs several weeks to fully understand assignment details, develop chemistry with other defensive linemen, and reach peak physical condition. Washington's immediate needs might not align with that adjustment timeline. Brent Urban, the veteran stability option, Urban represents the safest, most predictable option available. At 33 years old, he's clearly in the final phase of his career, but his experience and reliability could provide exactly what Washington needs. During this transitional period, his familiarity with Dan Quinn's system from their time together in Dallas is perhaps his most valuable asset. Urban understands Quinn's terminology, conceptual approaches, and situational usage patterns. That familiarity could allow him to contribute immediately without an extensive adjustment period. Urban's size, 6 feet 7 inches, and 295 pounds gives him natural leverage. Advantages in run defense situations. He's never been a prolific pass rusher, but his ability to occupy blockers and maintain gap integrity fits well with Quinn's disciplined defensive approach. During his time with Dallas, Urban demonstrated exactly the type of professional approach that veteran players need during late career phases. He accepted reduced roles, contributed on special teams, and provided valuable mentorship to younger players. Those intangibles could be significant factors for a Washington team that has several young defensive linemen still developing. The limitation with Urban is obvious. Limited upside. He's not going to provide significant pass rush production or create game-changing plays. His contribution would be steady, reliable performance that allows other players to excel in their specialized roles. Clelin Ferrell. The reclamation project Ferrell's situation is particularly interesting because he represents significant untapped potential. As the 4th overall pick in 2019, expectations were extremely high when he entered the league. While he hasn't lived up to that draft status, his underlying physical tools suggest there might still be significant production available. During his rookie season with Las Vegas, Ferrell showed flashes of high-level ability. His 4.5 sacks might not seem impressive, but advanced metrics indicated he was generating pressure at rates higher than his sack total suggested. Issues with finishing plays and situational usage limited his overall impact. Ferrell's size and athletic profile, 6 feet 4 inches, 265 pounds with excellent length, align well with what Quinn typically prefers in his edge rushers. His college production at Clemson demonstrated the ability to impact games in multiple ways, not just as a pass rusher. The question with Ferrell is whether a change of scenery and coaching could unlock his potential. Sometimes players need different systems, different coaching approaches, or different role definitions to reach their ceiling. Quinn's track record of maximizing defensive line production suggests he might be able to extract more from Ferrell than previous coaching staffs. However, Ferrell would require significant developmental work. His technique needs refinement, his understanding of pro-level concepts needs improvement, and his consistency needs to increase dramatically. Washington might not have time during a competitive season to invest in that level of player. Development, strategic considerations, and decision. Factors Peters must balance several competing factors when making this decision. First, there's the immediate need for production. Washington's defense has shown promise early this season, and maintaining that momentum requires adequate personnel at every position. Second, there's salary cap management. Adding a significant free agent would impact current cap space and potentially affect future roster building flexibility. Peters has been methodical about maintaining long-term financial flexibility while addressing immediate roster needs. Third, there's the impact on young players' development. Players like Trayvon Walker and other developing defensive linemen need opportunities to grow. Adding certain veterans might limit those developmental opportunities. Fourth, there's scheme fit. Quinn's defensive system requires specific skill sets and mental approaches. Not every available player would integrate seamlessly into established concepts and communication patterns. The timing of his decision is also crucial. Waiting longer might provide additional options as other teams make roster moves. But it also delays integration time for whatever player is eventually acquired. Based on all these factors, I believe Peters will likely pursue a two-pronged approach. Promote Holmes to increase playing time while simultaneously adding a veteran free agent for depth and insurance. This would provide immediate stability while maintaining flexibility for future adjustments. The next few W. Let's continue with the bombshell that exploded after the game against Green Bay. Austin Ekeler, our starting running back, suffered a completely torn Achilles tendon. And I'm telling you, when I saw that play in real time, I knew something was terribly wrong. The reality is harsh, fans. Ekeler is out for the rest of the season. An Achilles tendon injury is not something to be taken lightly. We're talking about one of the most crucial tendons for any runner in the NFL. I believe this injury not only impacts this season, but could define the immediate future of our ground game. But let me explain exactly what we lose with Ekeler. He wasn't just any running back. We're talking about a 9-season veteran who had accumulated over 6,800 rushing yards and 4,700 receiving yards throughout his career. His versatility was his greatest strength. He could line up as a traditional running back, split out as a slot receiver, or even play from the wingback position in special formations. Against the Giants in Week 1, Ekeler had shown flashes of his immediate value to this offense. 15 carries for 83 yards and 1 reception for 11 yards. Solid numbers indicating he was fitting perfectly into Cliff Kingsbury's system. His vision on the field was evident, finding holes other runners would have missed, cutting inside when the defense pushed him to the sideline. But do you know what's the most important thing we lose? His experience in crucial moments. Ekeler had played in playoffs, had been in championship games, and had faced elite defenses under maximum pressure. That experience is invaluable, especially when you have a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels running the offense. Now, all that pressure falls on Jackery Bill Krosky Merritt. And here's where the story gets fascinating. This guy comes from a small college, Alabama State, where he wasn't even the first option initially. His college career was a maze of transfers and obstacles that would have broken players with less determination. Krosky Merritt started at Auburn as a walk-on, without a guaranteed scholarship, working on special teams and waiting for any opportunity. After 2 years without significant minutes, he transferred to Garden City Community College in Kansas, where he finally started to show the potential that originally led him to Auburn. At Garden City, Krosky Merritt ran for 1,247 yards and 14 touchdowns in his only season. But the most impressive thing was his numbers in the passing game. 34 receptions for 298 yards. That versatility caught Alabama State's attention, where he finally found a home. His senior season at Alabama State was brutally cut short after only one game due to complications related to COVID-19 and eligibility issues. One game. After everything he had fought to get there, his college career ended with stats from a single afternoon. 14 carries, 127 yards, 1 touchdown. But the NFL scouts had seen enough. His combination of size, speed, and determination impressed them during the draft process. At 6 feet tall and 220 pounds, Krosky Merritt has the ideal physique to be a 3-down back in the NFL. His 4.4, 8-second time in the 40-yard dash during his pro day showed he also has the speed to break long runs. Sheenan selected him in the 7th round. Pick 233, making him one of the last players selected in the 2025 draft. But from day 1 of training camp, Krosky Merritt showed he wasn't going to act like a typical 7th round pick. During preseason practices, he consistently outperformed more experienced running backs in contact drills. His vision was superior, his patience behind blockers was notable, and his ability to generate yards after contact immediately impressed the coaching staff. In his debut against the Giants, those flashes turned into real production. 10 carries for 82 yards, including a 23-yard run where he showed exactly why the Commanders believed in him. On that specific play, Krosky Merritt took a handoff to the right, saw the defense had closed the initial gap, cut inside with a single planted foot, broke a linebacker's tackle, and accelerated for 23 yards before being brought down by the safety. That one play demonstrated multiple elite skills, field vision, cutting ability, strength to break tackles, and speed to maximize the gain. It's exactly the type of play that turns 7th-round running backs into unexpected stars. But let's be realistic about the challenges he faces. Replacing Ekeler means more than just running the ball effectively. Ekeler was a constant threat in the passing game, recording over 70 receptions in 3 of his last 4 healthy seasons. Can Kroski Merritt replicate that versatility? During training camp, coaches noticed Kroski Merritt had natural hands for catching passes. His background at Alabama State included extensive work as a receiver, and that translated well to routes from the backfield. But executing practice drills is different from running routes against NFL linebackers trying to take your head off. Pass protection is another legitimate concern. Ekeler had perfected the art of identifying blitzes and positioning himself to absorb pressure coming at Jaden Daniels. That's a skill that takes years to develop, especially against defenses systematically trying to confuse rookie quarterbacks with complex schemes. Chris Rodriguez Jr. will remain part of the rotation, and his physical running style complements well the more elusive approach of Kroski Merritt. Rodriguez has shown he can get tough yards in short yardage situations, but he's never demonstrated the capacity to carry an entire offense for multiple weeks. Jeremy McNichols provides veteran presence and versatility, but at 29, he's clearly in the twilight of his career. His role will likely be limited to specific package situations and special teams. The timing of this injury couldn't be worse. Washington is trying to establish a new offensive identity with Daniels at the helm, and losing a key element like Ekeler forces significant adjustments in the game plan. Kingsbury now has to rely more on the passing game, putting additional pressure on McLaurin and the other receivers to create consistent separation. But here's what has me optimistic about Kroski Merritt: his mentality. During training camp interviews, he talked about how every transfer, every obstacle, and every rejection had made him mentally stronger. "I can't control where I was drafted or the opportunities I lost," he said. "I can only control what I do when given a chance." Dan Quinn has repeatedly emphasized that opportunities like this are exactly what separates special players from the rest. Bill has all the necessary physical traits," Quinn explained. "Now we'll find out what he has mentally when the lights come on and the pressure's on him." The organization is also exploring external options to add depth to the backfield. Names like Deonta Foreman, Royce Freeman, and Ty Johnson are being considered, but none of those players would be available immediately or have the long-term upside that Kroski Merritt represents. Adam Peters has been clear he won't panic or make desperate moves that compromise the team's future. "We believe in the players we have on the roster," Peters declared after confirming Ekeler's injury. "Bill gave us reasons to believe in him throughout training camp, and now he has the opportunity to show why he belongs here." The pressure on Kroski Merritt is immense, but I believe that type of pressure can bring out the best in players with his mentality. He has nothing to lose and everything to gain. His story is already inspiring, but the next few months will determine if he becomes one of those legendary NFL stories or just an interesting footnote. Against Las Vegas in Week 3, Kroski Merritt will have his first real chance to prove he can carry the load as a starter. The Raiders have a physical defense that will test every aspect of his game. If he can produce solid numbers against them, especially on the road, then we'll know we're witnessing the birth of something special. Now let's talk about Terry McLaurin. And this situation is much more complex than it appears on the surface. McLaurin just signed a 3-year, $69 million extension with $53 million guaranteed, making him one of the highest paid receivers in the league. But so far, we aren't seeing the performance to justify that massive investment. The stats are concerning. In 2 games, McLaurin has only 7 receptions for 75 yards. That's an average of 3.5 receptions and 37.5 yards per game for a receiver who just secured over $23 million per year. Those numbers are simply unacceptable. But let me explain the full context of this situation, because there are layers of complexity that go far beyond basic stats. All summer, McLaurin maintained a holdout that lasted until the final week before the regular season began. It wasn't just normal contract negotiations. It was a complete standoff where McLaurin refused to participate in practically every team activity until his situation was resolved. That means he missed all of OTAs, all of mandatory minicamp, the first 3 weeks of training camp, and all preseason games, we're talking about approximately 50 practice sessions where he should have been developing chemistry with Jaden Daniels, learning the modifications to Cliff Kingsbury's offensive system, and refining the routes crucial to his success. The chemistry between quarterback and receiver cannot be manufactured in a boardroom with agents and lawyers. It develops through countless reps, where the quarterback learns exactly when and how the receiver will make their breaks, and the receiver learns to read the quarterback's hips and eyes to know exactly where the ball is going to arrive. Jaden Daniels, being a rookie quarterback, needed those reps with McLaurin more than with any other receiver. As the clear WR1, McLaurin was going to be Daniels' first option in crucial situations. But instead of building that trust during the summer, Daniels spent those reps developing timing with Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey, and other receivers who were present. When McLaurin finally returned, there was an inevitable adjustment period. Not only did he have to get into game shape after months of training individually, but he also had to learn a modified playbook while simultaneously developing the lost chemistry with his rookie quarterback. In the game against the Giants, it was evident that chemistry still wasn't fully developed. There were at least 3 occasions where Daniels and McLaurin were clearly not on the same page. On a specific play in the second quarter, McLaurin ran a comeback route, but Daniels anticipated an out route, resulting in a pass that flew 5 yards behind the receiver. Against Green Bay, we saw incremental improvements, but not yet the dominant level we expect from McLaurin. The accuracy was improving, but the separation that had been his trademark for years seemed a step slower. But here's what really concerns me: the physical signs I'm seeing on the film. McLaurin is going to turn 30 in December, and there are subtle indicators that he might be losing a step. His first step explosiveness, which had always been elite, appears slightly diminished. His ability to separate at the top of routes, especially against press coverage, is not as dominant as it was 2 years ago. Adam Peters was initially reluctant to extend McLaurin's contract precisely due to these concerns. Historical data shows that receivers typically begin to decline around age 30, especially those who have accumulated significant wear and tear during their first 6 seasons in the league. McLaurin has been incredibly durable throughout his career, playing in 75 of 80 possible games since entering the league in 2019. But that durability has come at a cost. He has absorbed massive hits across the middle, made contested catches in traffic, and been the primary target in offenses that frequently forced him to make difficult plays. During the negotiation process, Peters reportedly initially offered a 2-year deal worth $40 million, reflecting his concerns about longevity. McLaurin and his agent rejected that offer, demanding the 3-year $69 million package they eventually secured. That discrepancy in valuation creates additional pressure on McLaurin. Not only does he have to justify the money he's earning, but he has to prove that Peters was wrong about his concerns regarding age-related decline. The situation is further complicated by the context of the rebuild Washington is undergoing. This organization is trying to maximize the rookie contract window of Jaden Daniels, and that means every dollar of the salary cap has to provide maximum value. If McLaurin can't return to his all-pro form, that massive contract becomes a significant obstacle to building a competitive roster. But let me explain why I still have faith that McLaurin can turn this around. His work ethic has never been questioned. During interviews after the game against Green Bay, McLaurin was brutally honest about his performance and took complete responsibility for the lack of production. "I'm not where I need to be yet," he admitted. "I missed important reps during the summer, and now I'm paying the price. But I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep grinding until Jaden and I are completely in sync." That accountability is exactly what you want to hear from a veteran leader. McLaurin isn't making excuses or blaming others for the situation. He's acknowledging the reality and committing to putting in the work necessary to fix it. During the mini-bye week, reports from the facility indicated that McLaurin and Daniels were putting in extra hours after practice, running routes, and working on timing. That type of dedication frequently pays rapid dividends once it starts clicking. I also have to consider the context of the defenses Washington has faced. The Giants have an improved secondary with additions like Tyler Nubin and Andrew Phillips. Green Bay, meanwhile, has one of the best secondaries in the league, anchored by Jair Alexander and Xavier McKinney. Against Las Vegas in Week 3, McLaurin should have more favorable matchups. The Raiders have struggled with consistency in their secondary, especially when defending routes over the middle, which have been McLaurin's specialty throughout his career. Cliff Kingsbury is also still adjusting his offensive system to maximize what McLaurin does best. During the holdout, Kingsbury had to design plays around the receivers who were actually present. Now that McLaurin is back, there's an adjustment period where the offensive coordinator is reincorporating McLaurin-specific concepts into the weekly game plan. I expect to see more motion pre-snap to help McLaurin get clean releases, more picks and rubs to create artificial separation, and more opportunities for him to work from the slot, where his route running precision can be maximized. That pressure on McLaurin also comes from the fact that Washington's receiver depth behind him is questionable. Jahan Dotson has shown flashes, but hasn't proven he can be a consistent WR2. Luke McCaffrey is still a rookie, learning the professional game. If McLaurin doesn't produce, this passing offense could struggle significantly. But here's what gives me optimism: McLaurin's track record in difficult situations. During his 6-year career, he has consistently performed better when the pressure is highest. In 2021, when Washington needed wins to reach playoffs, McLaurin caught 77 passes for 1,053 yards. In 2020, during a quarterback carousel that included 5 different starters, he still managed 87 receptions for 1,118 yards. That type of mental toughness and professional consistency doesn't just disappear overnight. Yes, there's an adjustment period. Yes, the timing with Daniels needs work. But when the chemistry finally clicks, I believe we're going to see vintage Terry McLaurin. The next 3 games will be crucial. If McLaurin can average 6 to 7 receptions for 80+ yards during that stretch, it'll indicate the chemistry issues are resolving and that his physical abilities remain intact. If the struggles continue, then Peter's initial concerns about age-related decline might prove prophetic. For now, I'm giving McLaurin the benefit of the doubt based on his track record and work ethic. But the clock is definitely ticking, and the margin for error is smaller than ever given the massive financial investment Washington just made in him. Washington fans, these 3 stories show exactly at what crucial point we are as an organization. A devastating injury forcing a rookie into the spotlight, a star under immense pressure to justify his contract, and management carefully navigating the trade market. I believe the next 3 weeks are going to completely define the direction of our season. Can Krosky Merritt become the success story we all need? Can McLaurin return to his all-pro form? Can Peters find the right defensive piece without compromising our future? These are the questions that will haunt every Washington fan until we have answers. And I'll guarantee I'll be here, analyzing every move, every decision, every game that brings us closer to those answers. So my final question for you is this: considering everything we've just discussed, which of these 3 challenges do you think will have the greatest impact on our playoff chances? Is it the running back situation with Krosky Merritt, the pressure on McLaurin to return to elite form, or the need to find defensive depth? Let me know in the comments, because I want to know exactly what you, the true fans, are thinking about our team's future. Hit like if this analysis helped you understand Washington's current situation better. Subscribe for more exclusive Commanders content, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll have even more explosive news about our team.